I'm
about to have some Chipotle with Sam, the high school senior, who has helped edit some of the Educator Shout Out interviews, and tonight she's going to record one of her own. All right, folks. Kayla Ebbe here with the Educator Chipotle Challenge, doing an Educator Shout Out interview with
Samantha Sheridan. I am a senior at a project-based learning school in Davis.
Yeah, Davis, California, PBL. So Sam, you attended a traditional school before project-based learning school. Mm-hmm. Tell us what that experience was like and versus now at project-based learning high school.
So I did traditional schooling all the way up until my sophomore year when I switched to project-based learning. My sixth grade teacher actually, when I was in sixth grade, she grabbed me and was like, this junior high for project-based learning would be totally great for you. And for some reason, I just decided that I was going to take the traditional route. And while I do think I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about myself, I'm definitely much happier at a project-based learning school because I've learned how to collaborate and communicate so much better. I've learned how creativity is such a valuable thing, because a lot of times in traditional schooling I felt like I was being limited with what I was able to do and what I was able to create. Sure. But as soon as I started to be able to do project-based learning, there was so much more design and creativity that would go into the presentation tool, whether it be a PowerPoint, a poster, or I think one time I made a dress that I presented about.
Wow.
Yeah, and I learned that getting information to people and talking to people about things, there's so many different ways to do it.
Sure.
And because I do theater, so I was already relatively comfortable with public speaking, but project-based learning also helped me feel more confident if I was going into an audition or somewhere that I was with people that were much older than me, because I felt like I knew how to communicate with them effectively. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that project-based learning taught me that I just kind of wouldn't have had if I felt like an individual student just in the traditional learning track.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
PBL experience.
I love project-based learning.
Can you say that a little bit louder?
I love project-based learning.
She loves PBL.
I do. I love it so much.
Shout out to project-based learning. All right, Sam, name and describe one or more educators who have positively impacted your life and how they've made a difference.
Alrighty, so there's two people I kind of wanted to talk about. First being Mr. Bell, who's my sophomore year World Civ teacher. Going into the school that I my current high school, I didn't know anyone, and everyone there, I didn't know I didn't know a single person, because I had only known people who were in the upperclassmen who had recommended the school to me. So going in, I was really nervous, especially since I was people are going to be working in groups, or people not going to want to work with me because they know because I'm new, and I had so many questions and so many concerns. But Mr. Bell's World Civ class really taught me and helped me feel really comfortable and really confident in myself, because he's able to be have so much fun with the students and goof off with us. It made me feel much less nervous, much more excited and confident to come to school every day. And that was one of the things that oh no, thank you.
No, thanks.
It made me feel much more confident coming to school every day, knowing that I was going to have a teacher who was there for me even if I needed help in another class. Also, I have really bad ADD, and so he made a lot of the presentations that he would give very entertaining and very exciting. He would keep us entertained with whether it be skits or accents or different jokes that he would say. I was always, whenever I would walk into fourth period, I knew that I was going to be getting some sort of a show, some sort of a production. Nice. And so that was really, really helpful for me. Another teacher that I wanted to shout out was Miss Rosenberg, who was one of my recommenders for college. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, I found my junior year, my sixth period history class, and everyone in that class talks about it, even her, that was just the best class, and everyone in there was so close, and we all worked really well together. It was just a really strong group of students in that class, and I'm so thankful that that's randomly that's the history class I got placed into.
Yeah.
and towards the end of the year, we do the ISMS project, and one of the things that was kind of a concern for me was that I didn't feel confident in my speech writing and my ability to present by myself, because every time we're presenting in groups, you're talking, but you have your group members there to back you up, and so if something weird happens or if something goes wrong, like, the responsibility isn't all on you. But I knew that when I was going to give this speech, I gave my speech on sexism, that I was going to be going up there alone, and it was going to be my words and my thoughts expressed out to the class, and it wasn't really judging, like, they were going to be kind of critiquing the way that I talked and the things that I said. And so she really helped me. Like, I went in with her with this idea for the speech, and she was like, you need to narrow it down, like, a lot more. And so we spent multiple days, multiple lunches, class periods, and after school working together and collaborating to make sure that when I finally went up and gave my speech, it was the best product possible. And so I don't think I could have done that without her, and that is one of my most memorable experiences at my high school. Even though a lot of my experiences that were memorable were like from projects. That moment and those few weeks that we spent together, especially the ISMS project. That project, because a lot of the information in it is sensitive, it can be a little stressful for students. So to have a teacher there that I was able to share and express my opinions to, and we were able to work together and collaborate, really like changed the way. Because I felt like I couldn't do it at the beginning, but after those, I think it was like probably 4 or 5 weeks, I went up there nervous but confident, and as soon as I started I was like reciting my speech, I felt like very good about it, and I thank her for that, and I wrote that to her as a part of what I wanted her to talk about in my letter of rec for college. Ooh.
Which, P.S., where are you going to college?
I'm going to be attending Fordham in New York City. It is like private graduate school. I'm going to be studying communications. I'm absolutely thrilled. It was my dream school, and I think having the edge of going to a smaller school, a project-based learning school, having letters of recommendations from teachers that really, really knew me, gave me an advantage over other students, as well as a lot of my activities. I lead recruitment for my high school. I'm going and talking to other kids at the junior highs in Davis. I did like a orientation group for the students that chose Da Vinci, and I led my journalism classes, like social media. I was their social media manager, and just like a bunch of other things that I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to do and to lead if I'd went to a larger high school. So in part because of the fact that I go to a smaller school where teachers know me, and they I have close relationships with all my teachers. I'm able to talk to them about like many different things, so they know where I'm gonna do my best, and so they put me in positions like junior high recruitment, and working with a leadership position in journalism was kind of where I did my best and had my most success. And
Mr. Bell and Miss Rosenberg.
You know both of them, right?
Yeah.
I love history. I love history classes. I always have the most fun in my history class.
That's awesome.
My one from this year is great too.
Great. Sam, from your perspective as a student, what resources are necessary to have at school that support students' mental, social, emotional health and well-being?
Okay, so this one might be kind of a weird one, but I think that having school supplies is such an important thing. There's so many times where I've forgotten a pencil, or I don't have a writing utensil, or I don't have a highlighter, and a lot of the times you can get stuck in a class where and it's not even the teacher's fault, you just don't have those little basic kind of supplies, and it can take a little longer to do your work or get started if you're having to write math with a colored pencil,
right.
So which is something that I've had to I've seen students do, and there's moments where I've been is this how I'm gonna have to fill out my math homework for today? So having school supplies and school just basic things, like paper and stuff like that, really really helps out. And I'm kind of forgetful, so it's taken me a long time to kind of remind myself to bring like pencils and highlighters and stuff to school sometimes. But that's one thing that growing up, I really would have liked to have. I think another thing is like having like relationship, like knowing your students. So like the resource of being able to know your educators and know the people in the administration is really helpful, because a lot of the times if you're at a larger school, this is an experience that I had, is if something's going on, even if you report it or try to talk to someone about it, the school's so big and so many kids are having problems and stuff, maybe they don't have as much time for you as you need. But I know that being able to go into the counselors and just talk to them about college, like just talk to them about like, I don't know where I want to go, or I don't know what I want to do, and being able to have like a real long conversation is something that's really important and really shaped like when I was deciding where I wanted to go and deciding what I wanted to do, like being able to go in and like have the counselors be like, okay, so here's like a spreadsheet that you can fill out, like, and they knew me, so they were like, what about this school, what about this school, what about this scholarship opportunity? They know your first and last name, like they know who you are, and you're more than just like a student on the list. So having like faculty that's able to support the student body, I think is really important. That's one of the things when I was looking for where I wanted to go to college. I was looking at schools that had a smaller student to faculty ratio, and like my art history class, for example, is like 20 kids, so we get to have a lot of like discussions and stuff like that, that maybe we wouldn't be able to have if the class was much larger. That's one thing that I didn't realize before going to a smaller school, but once I was there, I was like, oh my gosh, imagine if at every school we were able to have classes sizes of 20, or have class sizes that weren't constantly overflowing, or have teachers be not even, because I don't think that teachers at larger high schools, it's a lack of caring. I think that those teachers care about their students just as much, but I think they don't have the opportunity to get to know you unless you reach out. But in smaller schools and in smaller class sizes, you're really able to get to know the students one-on-one. So pencils, highlighters, and small class sizes.
Yes, way to summarize that. That's good. And relationships with your educators.
Yes.
Who are gonna
have
access, or the supplies to provide you those pencils when you forget to put it in your bag that day.
Totally.
That's awesome.
Like instead of having to ask like the person who's sitting next to me if I can have a pencil every single day.
Right. You could just like have a little pencil box in the middle of every table, so it's like anybody that needs a little extra something that day.
Because it's like it's the same thing with, because I'm not an art student. I take art class at I'm an AP Studio Art, and that's the same kind of thing. Like if I didn't have certain paints or certain watercolors or certain brushes, like there's certain things or pieces that I couldn't do. And so it's the same thing with school, because if you have the supplies to do your work, you're going to be so much more successful.
The tools, the resources, available and accessible to all.
Yeah.
Right on. Well said, Sam. All right, future freshman at Fordham University.
People call it Fordham too.
Well, you know,
that drives me nuts.
Yeah, I went to Hamlin, and it's spelled Hamline, so people say Hamline. You go to Hamline University?
No,
Fordham.
Fordham University.
Fordham. Hamlin University.
It drives me nuts. When people are like, are you excited to go to Fordham? I'm like,
oh, please.
I'm like, why would they name a university like?
Yeah, but also and I don't know enough about this, but I'm curious about the English language, and like I can't think of the exact terminology right now, but like phonetically correct, like ham, like I can see why people would think Hamline, because that's how it's spelled, right?
And Fordham,
right? You just put two words together.
I don't understand how when people say it, they don't like immediately like recognize that that's
right. That seems a little odd for a university to like what's your mascot? Like the Hamscot? I don't know.
I'm the Rams. We're the Rams.
Fordham is?
Fordham Rams.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sam, what advice would you share with your 7th grade self, or advice for other students?
Okay, so gosh. My 7th grade self was like probably about like 50 pounds lighter, and she was very like, I don't know, I think when I was in 7th grade I was just I didn't really understand how like being friends with people worked yet, and I think that I had to learn the hard way how to make friends. I think that I would have told my 7th grade self that like things are gonna every year that you are in high school or you're in school, things are going to continue to change and shift in ways that you don't, like, you're going to start your 8th grade year in one place and end up in a totally different place, and the same thing with your 9th grade year, and the same thing with your sophomore year, and like my junior year, all the people that I have hung out with for the past year and a half or so, I didn't know them going into my junior year. I kind of met them going in there. So like you're gonna go through different groups and different things, but like everything kind of happens for a reason. And like even if you feel kind of like you're isolated from your grade because for whatever reason, it's gonna be like you gotta ride the wave a little bit.
Yes, gotta learn how to surf the waves, ride the waves.
Exactly.
Or the waves are gonna knock you down.
Exactly.
I mean, but they will sometimes, right? But then
just
you
like
gotta
learning
how to like
get back up. Exactly, and
that's
one thing that's one of the reasons that I'm glad that I did traditional schooling originally, is because I learned how to kind of like move, like switch, like hang out with lots of different people and hang out with a large group of people. But one thing that I would share with my 7th grade self is like there is value in having like your own group and like your own like people that you know really well, and like even if being friends with people like because I felt like I wanted to fall back a lot of the times on people I knew from theater and kind of like just keep a lot of my friendships there, like growing and creating solid friendships at school with people who were the same age as you and in your grade, and that's going to be kind of what ends up leading you to the most success that you can have in high school. And obviously I learned a lot from having different friend groups and meeting different people and stuff, but instead of always kind of switching up the group and like hanging out with lots of different people, it is important to find a group of people at school who you can really get along with and who you can feel comfortable being close to. And that's going to come with a lot of moments of miscommunication and moments where you have to be honest with other people and honest with yourself. But in the end, you're going to have like a really tight group that you feel like you can trust at school and out of school. Because I didn't have, like I said, like I didn't have kind of from like 8th grade on, I didn't really have close friends in my grade. I had people I hung out with at school, but they were kind of like my school friends, and then I would go and do theater, and that was like my real strong group of friends. But going to school and meeting people there and kind of like being able to create strong relationships with your peers, that is important, even if sometimes people in your grade can be like hard to like. You feel, because I always feel older than everyone that I'm around, because I've spent the entirety of my adolescence with older people doing theater, and so sometimes I didn't really click with a lot of people that I went to school with, because I just felt like they were younger than me, kind of, and not in a bad way. Like I just felt like I couldn't really relate to them. But you're gonna find a group of people that you can really relate to in kind of an unexpected place in an unexpected situation. So
yeah. And how would you suggest that students in 7th grade, transitioning from elementary to junior high, or even as they progress through junior high and high school, make those strong connections? What types of skills could they start kind of implementing right now or trying?
Well, for me, in high school, it was all about like like stay on campus for lunch. And that's one thing that I'm like, that's like a very weird statement, but I didn't stay on campus for lunch as a sophomore or in the beginning of my junior year. I would just leave or go home because I lived really close. And so a lot of the things, like a lot of the connections that were being made by kids hanging out with each other at lunch, and I wasn't doing that. So I started staying at school when I had to work on a project, and then as soon as that happened, I just started meeting people that I hadn't met before, and that's where I met my boyfriend, and that's where I met my group of friends that I have now, just from staying at school, feeling like getting involved with kids in your grade. And that can be like in college, one of the things that I'm thinking about is like how important it's going to be for me to go to events and go and like to student-led events or to like social events, because it's all about meeting people and like expanding your horizons. Because the people that I became friends with in my junior year and who are continue to be my friends until now, they all were people that I hadn't really known and I hadn't really talked to, and I found like that friendship in such an unexpected place. But from just staying at school during lunch, I was able to like meet people, and I stopped kind of being afraid and avoiding people at school, and I just like started putting myself out there in different ways. And yeah, it was really thanks to like one of the groups that I had. I was just randomly assigned to a group, and we started working together at lunch a lot more. And then, more people came in and were working with us. And so,
Was that scary to do?
It was
like put yourself out there in that way?
I had done it a few times before, just from like being at school, you go to lunch with people, like you hang out with people. But what was kind of scary for me,
it was scary a little bit. But it was like,
yeah. But I think once I found a group of people that I was really able to get along with, it just kind of clicked for me. And it just felt like just right, and like it was working. And yeah, I'm very grateful for that. I think, but it wasn't as scary as much as it took so much time through a lot of like trial and error and figuring out how to navigate relationships with my peers and people my own age. Because like I said, I was always the baby of my friend group. Like I was always the youngest. So like becoming friends with people my own age, even though that doesn't seem a lot of like very like something that's kind of weird for a lot of kids, like that was something that was weird for me because I had spent a lot of time with upperclassmen.
Well, it sounds like it took and it has helped you to have this level of self-awareness that you do, to recognize that was something that you valued, that you wanted to feel more connected to your peers. And so it was maybe a little like hard to navigate at first, but because you knew that was part of your goal, and like you felt more confident in yourself, that helped you
and I don't
make those relationships.
I don't think I think I wanted it, but I don't think I fully realized the value in it until I became friends with these people, because I had always kind of thought like, I can just be friends with people that are older than me, or I dismissed like kind of the value of having friends at school, just because I was like, if I do extracurriculars, or I could have friends there. But I think over the past year, I've really like just learned to truly like love having friends at school and love like being able to go to lunch with people. And while like having friends that were upperclassmen was great and awesome, I like miss them a lot. It's really nice to like, it's hard because it's hard when they leave. So it was really nice to like know that I was going to be okay my senior year once everyone else had graduated, because I had like the strong anchor that I had of friends that I'd made during and throughout my junior year. And it took a lot of time, and it took a lot of trust, and it took a lot of like trial and error, even with the relationships that I still have. But it was all just about like being kind to people, like, and being like like really relaxing. Like I think part of me had to just relax and like realize like I didn't have to be like closed off from people at school. Like I could just be myself. And that's one of the reasons that my junior year was my favorite year of high school, because I just was able to just be myself. Because once I was able to be myself around the small group of peers, it expanded into a larger group of peers that I was able to feel comfortable around. And now I love going to school because people know who I actually am instead of just thinking that I'm a senior. I feel like every year of high school, people were kind of shocked when I showed up again. Like at my first day of my junior year, everyone was like, I thought you graduated last year. And then first day of my senior year, everyone was like, I thought you graduated last year. And so it's nice that now to be people know that I'm in my own grade. But yeah, trust and being kind and learning to relax were the three things that really really allowed me to have successful friendships at school.
And when you say just learn to relax, some people might be like, well, how did you do that? Is that like a mindset shift?
Yeah, I think that for a long time, I thought that I could only be friends with people who had similar interests in me. But once I learned that with different people, you can just talk about anything, especially with people at school, you don't have to, I didn't have to worry about not being able to talk about theater and what I did at rehearsal, because we could just talk about anything. And while I do talk about what I do with my friends, it was nice to have friends that have all different interests. And so I kind of had to be okay, maybe and it was a relaxing thing of I was kind of worried that people at school just didn't know me, or didn't like me, but just didn't know me, or didn't know really anything about me. And so just being if I'm just be yourself, but not, being myself, but also learning, getting in on inside jokes with people, and talking to people and making an effort, and just being learning that throughout high school. And one of the things that project-based learning taught me is even if it's all crazy and chaos, it's all gonna be okay. And you learn how to do that with your friends, especially at a small school, especially at a project-based learning school, when things can go crazy and things can go wild. You learn to take that deep breath and be these people have my back. And so that relaxing kind of came with the trust of being I trust these people, they're my friends, I know that I can tell them things and trust that they're gonna be there. So that's kind of how I learned to take a deep breath and make some friends.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. There's so many things. I could write a book to my 7th grade self on things that I wish I had known.
You heard it, folks. Sam is going to write a book.
I'm going to write a book to my 7th grade
to her 7th grade self.
To my 7th
How many
grade
pages
self.
would you estimate?
Well, I want to write. When I was in 7th grade, I was I don't know what my diet must have been crazy good, because I looked back at pictures of myself and I was wow, I was fit. I was I don't know what I was doing. I wish I could write a letter to my 7th grade self, but in exchange, my 7th grade self could write a book about food to me.
About food?
About food. About what she ate, because I don't know what she was. I think you grow up, my metabolism was really fast when I was a kid or something.
Huh. I mean, I guess it would be interesting to really pinpoint what is different.
Yeah, I was what's her secret? Can she tell me, because I don't remember. I don't know. I think that
do you feel good where you're at right now, though?
Oh yeah, always. I always this.
Chipotle. You think they're gonna go get dinner? Let's see.
Hopefully.
Can you see, Sam?
I don't know. Oh.
A couple of kids.
Oh, I don't know.
Mom and Dad.
But she just discovered Chipotle for the first time, I think. So maybe she'll come back.
Potentially, or maybe she's had it before and she's oh,
again,
Chipotle.
Again.
I like
360. Chipotle. Maybe she'll be the next one you can pass down.
Ooh, that would be so cool if the next person that did a Chipotle challenge was half my age or younger than that even. I mean, she was probably like 8, 7
I don't think I had the budget for that when I was 8.
Yeah, I wouldn't have either. Nope, I definitely wouldn't have. Yeah. I've been trying for almost 30 years to do the fish face, and that's about as much as I can.
That's a special skill. That's a special talent.
At least I got one of them.
I would put that on my resume.
Yeah?
Down on special skills. I can roll my tongue.
Fordham, that's why
how I got in. Yeah, that's one of my extracurriculars. No.
That communication. Roll the tongue.
Exactly. Okay.
So, is there anything else that you would like to share with educators or students watching, Sam?
Yeah. I think one thing that I've kind of learned throughout my senior year, but just throughout kind of high school and school in general, is like the best thing you can be is kind and funny, because people love people who are kind and funny. And that's one thing, even if I'm like not feeling going to school that day and I'm like in like leggings and just a sweatshirt, which is what I wear to school most days anyway, staying comfortable. But even if I'm just not tired, I haven't got a lot of sleep, maybe something's stressing me out, the best thing that I can be is kind and funny, because like being in a class with someone that can make you feel good but also make you laugh is something that I appreciate so much. Like kids in class who will make not like when you say just funny remarks and say funny things. Yeah. Like that really can make or break like a class period or a day I'm having. Sure. Whether it be like just a day where my brain does not want to do math, or like a day where we're like it's like work time. If there's someone in a class who's kind and who's funny, like people are just gonna gravitate towards you, and people are gonna love spending time with you. And that's one of the things that I wake up and I'm like, if I can be anything today, I would like to be kind and funny.
Do you know who else? Do you know who comes to my mind when you say be kind and funny, Sam?
No.
Somebody who I've been dreaming would see the Educator Chipotle Challenge, who would see it and be like, oh, I love this act of kindness that this educator is trying to put out there, and these good vibes, and through some of the videos hopefully be funny and entertaining. Her first name starts with an E and last name starts with an... Yes. Can't find
but that's
enough
a perfect
opportunities.
example. That's such like just being kind and being funny are the two best things you can be. And some days you're kind of like people can be kind of a mix of that. Like you might be kind of snarky, but if you make people laugh and if you make people feel music again, they're
right.
back.
Gosh, we need to keep this up. and dancing. Ellen loves dancing too. But sorry, continue.
But I grew up. My mom always had Ellen on the TV when I was growing up. But I love Ellen. But if you can be kind and if you can be funny, people, no matter what, are gonna love spending time with you. And that's kind of my advice on how to navigate high school, because you see it. You can see kids who maybe like. Because you look at stereotypical high school kids of like, oh, if they're a jock, or I don't know, like if they're like a bookworm or something like that. Like, I don't know. But the best things, like the kids who I notice always tend to have the most friends and the best friends are the kids who are kind and funny. And so if you wake up every day and you're kind and you're funny, you can't really go wrong. You can't really...
not to mention your mental health and your well-being hopefully will...
Like laughing laughing and making people laugh
laughing is such a good medicine.
That's so good. Like I have kids in my classes that I love sitting near because I just like get to like there's classes that I enjoy more because I'm laughing in them and I'm having a good time in them, and
Like in Mr. Bell's class.
Yeah, exactly. So that's when Mr. Bell, it's tying it all back together. When Mr. Bell would give presentations and he would do funny accents or funny jokes, he does a really stellar summarization of Romeo and Juliet. He does a full rendition of it, and it's wonderful. And I just remember being like 15, dealing with whatever 15-year-old kids have to deal with, and just like being like leaving that class like so just happy. And I had a few, and it can get out of hand sometimes if you're laughing and talking with your friends too much, but like those classes where you're laughing, even if maybe it's not your strongest subject, it always tends to be my favorite class. And I always gravitate towards kids who are kind and kids who are funny. I think is the two best things that you can be.
Yeah, well, when you mention that, especially if it's not your strength subject area, that could be a motivator for some people to be in those classes when people are being kind and when they're on the receiving end of that kindness and being able to reciprocate that, because you got to use your strengths where you can in some situations, and that can help
kids. And it always feels good to be sitting in a group of students and you're collaborating, which I do like every single day at school, and you like someone cracks a joke it can be an on-topic joke, and it's funny and it's enjoyable, and it makes projects go by so much easier if you're laughing and if you're having a good time with your group, as well as taking things seriously. You're being kind and fun. I don't know. I just thought of that, but I was like, that's the two best things I feel like you can be in school.
That's good. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, Sam. Thank you so much for being a part of the Educator Chipotle Challenge by doing an Educator Shout Out interview. And like I mentioned in my video before I came to Chipotle tonight, Sam has helped me edit a number of Educator Shout Out interviews, did the animation for the Educator Chipotle Challenge, like with the beginning and then the outro with the bowls and the burritos and the watch last week's shout out.
And I finally got that apostrophe in there. So.
Yes, that apostrophe. You nailed it. We got it. It's like,
no, but it's been really enjoyable. It's fun because I get to see the full interviews when I'm editing, and I get to see everything everyone has to say, and even if there's things that kind of are edited out, like everything that people share is always so nice and so like people share really genuine things, and people share really genuine experiences, and so being able to watch the raw footage and being able to edit them and make them like complete and be able to put up has been something that I've really enjoyed, because I spend most of my time when I'm awake at school or doing schoolwork, and so I don't think especially finishing up my second semester of my senior year, I don't think I've thought about it as deeply as I think. Thinking about it now and reflecting on it now, I realize how much school has shaped who I am, and educators have shaped who I am. So
Mike drop.
Think about that.
Food for thought. Full bellies, educated minds, full hearts, full circle, folks.
Exactly.
Full circle.
Exactly.
All right. Much love, people.
Awesome.
Peace out. Thanks, Sam.
Bye.
Bye.